In the initial days, how did you come up with the idea of Masters? I'm pretty curious about. I would also like to know the story behind how you wrote this book.
So it's funny, like the best things kind of come out of practical jokes.
We are here at AI Engineer Singapore, and along with me, I have Sam, who is the founder of Mastra, and he writes this book. And I don't think you need an introduction. This book, if you are building agents, you all have seen this book, and I have personally read the book. Totally, it's amazing. If you haven't, do read it right now. But yeah, Sam,
Yeah.
over to you.
Thanks.
How are you having this event?
This is great. I think the minister's talk this morning was like excellent. It's great seeing a government official with such enthusiasm about building his own personal agents. I took a 15-hour flight from San Francisco to be here. I think the tech community here is really great. Like there's a lot of builders. This is my first time I've spent a lot of time in India, but this is my first time in East Asia. So I was really excited to just get to be here and get to know a little bit of the community.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you also talk a bit about Mastra, what it is, and how
Yeah.
people can use it?
So Mastra is an open source TypeScript agent framework. A lot of people are using us to build customer facing agents. They're using us to build internal agents. They're using us to build like developer platform agents like AI SREs. Folks are using us like B2B, Sanity, Content Stack, Factorial. We have a lot of folks using us to like B2C as well, like Indeed, Cargo. A lot of folks like this 2025, 2026 are the years of agents, right? And so people are building their agents in TypeScript using Mastra.
Yeah. And, talking about TypeScript, it always comes with that comfort that we all come from that JavaScript ecosystem, and TypeScript becomes much easier. So, in the initial days, how did you come up with the idea of Masters? I'm pretty curious about that.
So it was about 18 months ago, and we went to a hackathon in New York City, and most people were like using Python, and they like took 8 hours to build like sort of like a very simple RAG agent. And we're sort of like open source JavaScript framework guys, right? We've been doing this for a decade. We're the team behind Gatsby before this, and we're just like, why is everyone using Python? Like most of what we're doing is we're sort of like hitting a bunch of APIs and we're munging around responses and doing, and like this feels a lot like building a web app, and why shouldn't we be able to do this in TypeScript, right? So that was kind of the initial thing. But since then, like what we've seen is this huge demand for full stack developers and even folks that like maybe their backend is in some flavor of Java, maybe it's in Go, and there's like, hey, between Python and TypeScript, we love to use TypeScript to build our agents.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I would also like to know the story behind how you wrote this book.
So it's funny, like the best things kind of come out of practical jokes. So this is sort of like winter of 2025, right? So we were in YC, and we kept doing these whiteboarding sessions where we'd bring other startups from the batch to our apartment/office, and we just kind of like whiteboard out like what are you trying to build, like what does your agent look like, and I'd written a book before for Gatsby, and but at one point my co-founder, after we do about 20 of these demo sessions, my co-founder Shane, he just kind of like looks at me. He's kind of like, I noticed we were saying the same thing over and over. Like, Sam, maybe you should write a book. And I was like, yeah. What if I wrote a book? And then what if we brought it to demo day? Like that'd be like a really cool like stunt, And so like we did that. I locked myself in a room for a couple of weekends, and I came out the other side with a book, and then. Then what kind of happened after that was that like we just kept bringing this book to more and more events, and we actually brought 2,000 copies here today for 2,000 copies of each book to AIE Singapore, and it's just like every time we brought a book to an event, people are like, oh, this is so cool, because there's just tremendous demand where people like want to know how to get started. They want to know, how do I build my first agent? How do I kind of iterate from there, add workflows, maybe add tools, add memory, add MCP, add sandboxes, add file systems, add skills, right? Like there's this tremendous amount of desire for people to like go on the journey, and it turns out that this book has kind of become like almost mimetic and fulfilled like people's desire to get started building agents, and like I'm just incredibly like we're all like incredibly like blown away by it.
Yeah. One thing I really like about this book is, the explanation is much like developer to developer,
Yeah.
not like a traditional book writer, right? So I personally like the library. the small description makes more sense.
Yeah.
It's more like I just going through the README
Yeah.
and I just know what to do, what this script means. So I really like that approach as well. As a developer, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, I think like that's very much our vibe and ethos as like a framework as a company. It's more, like if you see us in person, we're like, hey, what are you building? Tell me what you're building. Like it's like that. And like as a framework, we're sort of like we don't make these abstract primitives that are like hard to understand. It's like create agent and like new workflow and like steps and like and I think that kind of comes from our background as JavaScript, TypeScript dev tools guys. Like there's a real premium on DX and approachability and like stuff that just feels easy easy to get started with, easy to iterate, and like I think we've kind of written a book that has the same kind of vibe and feel.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I would want a final tip from you for those who are starting to build agents and trying to build something personal agents. We have seen a lot of demand on agents like OpenClaw, and also people are curious how they can build their own OpenClaw instead of, let's say, using others. So how do you recommend them probably using Mastra? They can build something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll sort of like answer the question, but also zoom out a little bit. In the last 6 months, there's been this tremendous convergence between personal agents and coding agents, as well as like production agents like Mastra. And so, we've kind of built in a lot of coding primitives into Mastra, the ability to write code, have sandboxes, file system skills, a browser primitive, a heartbeat, like, it sort of wakes up and like listen, it can subscribe to feeds, like that kind of thing. And so, our one of our sayings is sort of like every agent, can become a harness. Every harness can become a claw. And so actually, like, even though like maybe 6 months ago or 9 months ago, this was very different, and the kind of agent you build with Mastra was very different. Now, actually, you can build all the claw stuff inside Mastra.
Okay.
So just use Mastra and check out like the heartbeat primitive for like building always on stuff. Check out the sandbox primitives. You can use Daytona, A2B, a local sandbox, Cloudflare, whatever you want to use, right? And I think if you sort of like start using Mastra, you'll be surprised with your ability to actually build your own clock.
Awesome. So I will put down all the links to Mastra and this book as well. Do check that out. And so it was great talking to you.
Thanks for saying hi.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.